Okay, so you want to own a cryptocurrency exchange. You've watched the numbers, and the numbers look insane. Millions of people trading digital coins around the clock, every transaction generating a fee. The platform never sleeping, never closing, never taking a holiday. No physical product, no inventory, no factory. Just code, servers, and a percentage of every single trade that passes through your platform. You do the math. Binance processed $14 trillion in trading volume in a single year. At even a fraction of a percent per trade, that is billions of dollars in fee revenue. From a website, from software, from people sitting at home moving numbers around on a screen. You make the call, and immediately you discover the first problem: trust. A cryptocurrency exchange lives and dies on one thing that cannot be bought, cannot be coded, and cannot be faked. The moment people stop believing their money is safe on your platform, it is not just over. It is over in hours, not days, hours. Because unlike a bank where your money is locked behind regulations and insurance and central bank backstops, on a crypto exchange, your funds can be withdrawn completely, globally, simultaneously, the moment panic sets in. And panic in this industry sets in fast. Mt. Gox was once the largest Bitcoin exchange in the world. At its peak, it handled over 70% of all global Bitcoin transactions. In 2014, it announced that 850,000 Bitcoin had gone missing. Gone, vanished from the wallets. Whether stolen by hackers or mismanaged internally, investigators argued for years. At today's prices, that missing Bitcoin is worth over $50 billion. Mt. Gox collapsed overnight. Users lost everything. Some are still waiting for partial repayments a decade later. You file that away and keep going, because the infrastructure alone is staggering. A serious cryptocurrency exchange needs servers capable of processing millions of transactions per second across hundreds of trading pairs simultaneously without going down, ever. A single hour of downtime during a major market movement, and in crypto, major market movements happen without warning at 3 a.m. on a Sunday, triggered by a tweet or a rumor or a regulatory announcement in a country your users have never visited, costs you millions in lost fees, and potentially thousands of users who never come back. Your technology infrastructure costs run between $10 and $50 million per year, depending on scale. Your cybersecurity budget is not optional and not modest. You are running a target that every sophisticated hacker on Earth would love to hit. Not occasionally, constantly. Every day, your security team is defending against attacks that range from amateur to state-sponsored. Coinbase spent over $300 million on technology and security in a single year, and Coinbase still gets hacked. Not catastrophically, but the attempts never stop. Then the compliance department arrives, and it brings a very large bill. Cryptocurrency regulation has gone from almost non-existent to one of the most complex regulatory environments in the world in less than a decade. Anti-money laundering requirements, know your customer verification, transaction monitoring, suspicious activity reporting, sanction screening. Every jurisdiction you operate in has its own rules, its own regulators, its own licensing requirements, and its own idea of what a compliant exchange looks like. Operating in the United States means registering with FinCEN, obtaining money transmitter licenses in every state you serve, and there are 50 states, maintaining compliance programs that satisfy federal and state regulators simultaneously, and keeping lawyers on retainer who specialize in an area of law that did not exist 15 years ago and changes faster than any legal team can fully track. Binance ignored this for years, built the largest exchange in the world by operating in regulatory gray zones, moving its headquarters when regulators got uncomfortable, and serving American customers through structures designed to obscure the connection. In 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice caught up with them. $4 billion fine, the largest financial penalty in American history at that point. The founder pleaded guilty to federal charges and stepped down. $4 billion. Because compliance felt expensive when the company was growing. Compliance is never as expensive as the alternative. Now here is where the economics get genuinely extraordinary.
When it works, when you have the trust, the technology, the compliance, and the timing, a cryptocurrency exchange is one of the most profitable businesses ever constructed. Coinbase generated $3 billion in revenue in 2021 during the crypto bull market. Net income of $1.6 billion. Profit margins that most businesses in any industry would consider a hallucination. Because the marginal cost of processing one more trade is essentially zero. The servers are already running, the compliance is already paid for, the security team is already deployed. Each additional transaction costs almost nothing and generates a fee. This is the economics of software at scale. Once the fixed costs are covered, every dollar of additional revenue flows almost directly to the bottom line. The problem is, what happens when the market turns? In 2022, the crypto market collapsed. Bitcoin lost 70% of its value. Trading volumes fell off a cliff. The users who had been trading constantly during the bull market disappeared. Coinbase revenue fell from $3 billion to $1.6 billion in a single year. They laid off 18% of their workforce. The stock price fell over 80%.
They survived. They were well capitalized and genuinely compliant and built on real infrastructure. FTX was not. FTX was the second largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world in 2022, founded by Sam Bankman-Fried, celebrated on magazine covers, valued at $32 billion, backed by some of the most sophisticated institutional investors on Earth. Politicians took his donations. Regulators praised his cooperation. The industry held him up as proof that crypto could be legitimate. In November 2022, a leaked balance sheet showed that FTX had been lending customer funds to its sister trading firm, Alameda Research. Customer money, not company money. The funds that users had deposited, believing they were safely held on the platform, had been moved, invested, and in many cases lost in bad trades. When the news broke, users tried to withdraw $8 billion in 3 days. FTX had the money for none of it. The exchange collapsed in 72 hours. $32 billion in value gone. Millions of users locked out of their funds. Sam Bankman-Fried arrested, tried, and sentenced to 25 years in prison.
The entire FTX empire, the sponsorships, the political donations, the magazine covers, the naming rights on the Miami Heat arena, built on customer money that was never really there. This is the thing about the cryptocurrency exchange business that makes it unlike almost any other financial business on Earth. The barrier between doing it right and doing it catastrophically wrong is thinner than it looks from outside. The temptation to use customer funds, to borrow them, to invest them, to put them to work while they sit idle on the platform is structurally present in a way it simply is not in traditional finance, where regulations make it impossible. In traditional banking, customer deposits are protected by deposit insurance, reserve requirements, and central bank oversight built up over a century of bank failures and the lessons learned from each one. In crypto, those protections are only as strong as the ethics of the person running the platform. And ethics, under sufficient financial pressure, with sufficient temptation, with insufficient oversight, sometimes bend, sometimes break completely. So here is where you actually stand. You built the platform. You hired the security team. You obtained the licenses. You built the compliance program. You survived the bear market. You have the trust of your users, and you have never once touched their funds for anything other than what they were deposited for. Your revenue in a bull market is extraordinary. Your costs in a bear market are brutal. Your reputation is your entire business.
And your entire business can be destroyed in 72 hours by a single leak, a single hack, a single decision made under pressure that you cannot take back. The cryptocurrency exchange is the most scalable financial business ever invented and the most fragile institution ever built.
And trust in this industry has a habit of disappearing faster than the money it was supposed to protect.